I wash my soul in the ocean, in the tears of God, I let it go.
Welcome to your 2021 video horoscopes with me, Lada from Astrolada. Thank you so much for choosing me to be astrologer for you for the year 2021. And what can I say? Just a quick summary. I'm delighted to say that 2021 will be way easier than 2020. You remember 2020, if you saw the videos that I created for 2020, I warned everyone this will be one of the toughest year ahead. For 2021, the action is moving from the cardinal signs like Aries, Capricorn, Cancer, and Libra, who had it the hardest, whether it was their ascendant, sun, or moon in 2020. It's moving to the fixed signs, which is Taurus, Leo, Aquarius, and Scorpio. And when I say action, it means they'll have life-changing events. They'll have something that takes them to the next level. But passing from one level to the other is always a bit more difficult. Especially fixed signs, they don't like changes so much. But again, it will be, I promise 2021 will be way easier generally for the world and each one of us. Just a few people will be a little bit more tested. And 2021 is when a new age for humanity starts, generally speaking. This is when Saturn and Jupiter start their new cycle for the first time in almost 800 years in an air sign. I mean, they kickstart this 200-year period. They met in the 80s in an air sign, but the last time they met in Aquarius was 1226, something like that, 800 years ago. So we'll start a brand new life, brand new era for humanity. You can check out my video, which is for free on YouTube, about the year 2021. For the whole world, there is new hope. Aquarius energy is coming in. There is a new hope for humanity, new future. Life will start splitting into society will start splitting into, not in a bad way, but in a way that instead of fighting and not seeing eye to eye, it will separate somehow. There will be people that want to live alternatively and people that want to follow the normal rules. But anyway, let's get back to you because those horoscopes are specific for you. So let me tell you what you need for those horoscopes in order to work for you. You need to find out your sun, moon, and ascendant signs. I want you to check all three of them. If you can't afford to buy all three, just listen to your ascendant sign at least. But you need to know your time of birth to listen to the ascendant sign. And you need to know the degree as well. And if you have time to watch all three videos, the ascendant, sun, and moon, then listen to the specific degrees when I speak about the moon and the sun especially. For the ascendant, pay attention to everything, the houses, whatever. For the sun and moon, especially pay attention if I mention your specific day of birth, if it's the sun, or the degree of the moon as well. The houses can also be relevant. Who will be affected most? Everyone feels affected by the ascendant sign, but you need to be very correct with your time of birth. Like if your mom told you between 2 and 3 o'clock, no, it's like you need 2:34. For example, p.m. And within 2-3 minutes at least to have your correct time, or 5 at most. So listen to your ascendant sign and the degree, start with it. Then listen to your sun sign. And of course, with the sun sign, you just know which day you're born, but you can check the degree as well. Listen to your moon sign. If you're born during the day, which means before the sun set, while the sun was above the horizon, the sun sign is very important for you because the sun becomes your ruling light. If you're born at night, like I am, when the sun has set, you have to find out what day the sun set on the day you were born and rose, so when you know your time of birth, whether it was day or night. So if you're born at night, the moon, it will be very important for you because the moon becomes your queen, the light. So but I would advise, listen to three of those: ascendant, sun, and moon. If you're a woman, the moon sign is usually very important. If you're a man, the sun sign is usually very important. If you're a woman in a competitive career or who has her own business or who is very much into her career, the sun sign becomes very important because the sun sign is our goals, is our masculine side, taking decisions. Let me tell you what the difference, the subtle differences between listening to your ascendant, sun, and moon is. With the ascendant, it is the physical body and your fated events. They're kind of pre-recorded for you. You really see the ascendant sign in when you, if you have your correct time of birth, you would see it as basically as events that materialize, that are happen around you, and they've been already, usually they're like preset somehow. They're set in stone. The ascendant is the most material aspect of the whole horoscope. It's kind of like our path, our destiny, whatever you want to say, the destiny of the soul. It's a little bit, we still have free will to some extent, but the ascendant is one of the most set ones. So you'd see very material manifestations with the ascendant sign. With the moon sign, the moon is the soul and the feelings. So a lot of women, because women are more connected with their feelings, tend to actually resonate a lot with their moon sign. And they're like, yes, those things for the ascendant sign are happening, but what really, where my whole heart is and where my whole attention has been and where my whole excitement has been and my focus or pain or sadness, whatever, has been as per the moon sign prediction. So do check it out. While the sun sign is, and the moon sign is, again, the moon is connected to the past, so it's a little bit more karmic. It's something that has been maybe programmed for the soul before our birth, type of thing. While the sun sign is the spirit, where we have the most free will. And with the sun sign, people often resonate when they listen to their sun sign. They say, wow, it's so correct. Especially people, the more self-sufficient and independent you are, the more and how do I say, the more it's the sun is where we have the free will power. And this is where we can influence the sun sign prediction, the events, the most. And this is what usually our goals, our dreams are about. The sun is like this ideal of the spirit where you want to reach, something that feeds your spirit, so to speak. So that's why a lot of people, especially in the West or in more, where people have more free will generally in countries like that, to determine their life, to determine their direction in life, because there are a lot of countries you cannot still do that. Some countries are still set like 1,000 years back, in mentality. But where there is more free will, usually in the more developed countries, or then the sun is very powerful. People can feel the sun very powerful, especially people that, as I said, men feel the sun very strongly. Women who have their own goals, who have freedom to go after career and things like that, to create their own careers. And especially if you have a stellium of planets in the same sign as your sun. For example, I'm Aries sun, but I also have their Venus, Mercury, Mars. So then I would feel the prediction from the sun sign very, very strongly. Maybe not as strongly as the ascendant, but it will be up there. And with the sun sign prediction, we have the most ability, when you listen to it, to take the higher road, to use our free will to change things to the best manifestation possible. With the ascendant, with the moon, well, with the moon, if you can control your feelings, but it's harder to control your feelings. With the sun sign, if you can control your thoughts, it's easier to control your thoughts than your feelings. With the ascendant sign, it's kind of more like set. So I told you this. How do you find out what your sun, moon, and ascendant signs are? You can, let me share my screen with you. You can go to my website, astrolada.com, where you can find any other, astrolada.com. Here it is. You can find any other astrology website, but I have this free birth chart calculator. You can go there. You can enter your details, your name, whatever it is, your birth time. Let's say you're born, okay, maybe you're not 8 years old, but the minute, you don't need the second. Very few people know the second. Your town, I would say New York, continued, so it's easier. And here from the drop-down menu, you find out which New York it is. Let's say there might be New York in Texas, Henderson, okay? Let's say I was born there. And this is what you get. It might look like alien, alien stuff to you. But all you need to do is go here, planetary details. And I want you to take those first three, ascendant, sun, and moon. You see those three. and write the degree and the sign. So this person that I invented has the ascendant in Taurus at 24 degrees. Don't look at the second number, the second row. These are the seconds. So just round it up, 24 degrees Taurus. The sun is at 16 Aries. Usually everyone knows their sun sign. This is the sun sign is the same, every year at the same time. And the moon sign of this person is Libra at 8 degrees. Write those down. And if you hear when you're watching Libra, for example, we mentioned Libras born with sun, moon, or ascendant from 3 till 9 degrees, they would feel this influence very strongly. Well, 8 degrees is within that influence. So pay attention what I'm talking about. You're going to feel, especially when I give specific degrees or days. If you're using for the moon, it will be a degree. And you hear your degree or that it's within the range, pay attention to that. You're going to feel this big time. The same with the sun sign, but with the sun sign, I also give the day you are born. For example, people that have degree at 16 Aries, they're born around the 4th or 5th of April. Every year is the same. The ascendant, I'll give the degrees again. So if I say if you're born Taurus, for Tauruses who have anything in degrees from say 12 to 26, and this person has a 24 degrees in Taurus, you will feel this influence, and so on and so on. If you don't hear your degree, just listen. Start with the ascendant sign. The whole prediction for the ascendant sign will, the houses. Then go through the sun sign if you're born during the day, the moon sign second, or second if you're born at night, especially if you're a woman, and end with one of the three and listen to the three of them and see which one you resonate the most with. See which one makes the most sense for you. Watch it again in the middle of the year, towards the end of the year, and you will figure out which planet actually is very strong. But always the ascendant is so important, guys, if you know your time of birth. And because anyway, I cannot fully give you specific reading. I just look at the whole sign, the whole Taurus I'm going to be speaking, or the whole Gemini. But there is a way for you to be following daily your personal transits like no one else in the world has them. It's again on the website, Personal Transit Calendar. You go there, you register. I already have an account. 50,000 people are using it, I think, already. For free. It's weekly, it's for free. But nowhere else in the world are you gonna, and I show you how to use it here. There is an instructional video how to use the transits. But here you put your details. You can put as many people as you want. You're gonna get free for them, or you can buy. You can buy for a year transits or for a month transits. A lot of the people that are subscribe for a month at a time, and you can just watch your specific transits here. They come out. No one else in the world will have the same transits as you on the same time, unless you have a twin born at the same place at the same time at the same minute as you. Otherwise, those transits will always be different. And you can go through each day of the year and see which transits you have. And you click and you read, and that will, you don't need my videos. But in those videos, what I strive to do, because a person has so many transits throughout the year. Look at that. This is just for 1 month. So many transits. How do you make sense of them? In those yearly videos, this is what I help you do, especially if you watch them for your ascendant. To a lesser degree, sun and moon, but they're still relevant. And I give you the bigger, fuller picture, instead of like separate, you have like, for example, look how many transits I'm currently having this day today. And, so, which one, but I give you like a summary of it, like wrap it up. All right. There you go. I think we're ready. If you have written your sun, moon, or ascendant, let's dive in. But before that, just a little quick prayer for God and to bless the year 2021 and to protect anyone. So, dear Father, Mother, Creators, dear Jesus, dear Mary, Buddha, Allah, whoever Whoever has their higher power from whatever place they're praying in the world, turn towards your higher power, to the angels, to the exalted beings that are taking care of humanity, that are selflessly helping us every day, our guardian angels, our departed beloved ones. Thank you so much for protecting us, for keeping us sane during the year 2020, for raising our consciousness collectively during that year. And I ask you for this new age that starts from the year 2021, from this brave new world. Let it be tilted towards the positive. Let the balance go towards the positive. Let more and more souls wake up to the divine love, to brotherhood, to peace. We're entering the age of Aquarius full speed from the beginning of 2021. May God, your desire and your plan for the world be fulfilled through each one of us. May brotherhood, love, equality, fraternity come, compassion between each other rather than separation. And let everyone who is watching this video find out the most important information for them, reach their heart, reach their soul. Let them connect with the information that is most relevant for them, and let them be prepared and help them through the path, and help me be a good channel and a good channeler of your wisdom, of your knowledge, so I can connect the people with the right inspiration. Amen. All right, let's start. Cancer, Sun, Moon, or Rising 2021. We're all starting a new chapter in human history with the upcoming Saturn Jupiter conjunction in Aquarius, which will define the next 20 years ahead. And each one of the zodiac signs will play a particular role in the socio-economic fabric of society and humanity for the next 20 years. And for Cancers, that will be a very profound topic. For Cancers, the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction, which is conditioning and which is defining the next years, 20 years, it's happening in your 8th house, guys. And it means that a lot of Cancers, whether it's their rising sun or moon, will have some important 8th house role to play for years ahead. Because Saturn and Jupiter define what is your role in society? How do you contribute to society? What is your obligation for society? And they are meeting in your 8th house, which means Cancers will become like the psychologists, the astrologers of humanity for the next 20 years. A lot of Cancers will develop deep interest towards occult topics, towards topics of deep investigation, whether scientific or occult, because the 8th house is the house of digging. The 8th house is has Scorpio qualities to it. And Scorpio likes to dig, to investigate, to research, to get to the bottom of problems and issues and figure them out, to get to the deepest motivations of humans or any situation, to understand it and to resolve it and to heal it. So Cancers can find themselves like the agony aunt of others, where others come to you to share their secrets, to share what is, you already probably, already, I'm quite sure a lot of people come to a lot of Cancers for that because of their compassionate nature, whether it's Sun, Moon, or Ascendant. And now you're going to see intensification for that, as if your whole life was preparing you for this period where people would like to share their secrets, where they'd like to confess to you. And a lot of you might feel drawn towards careers of such deep investigation of the psyche, of the soul, of helping others go through huge transformations emotionally, psychologically. And Cancers will be called to take a role of crisis managers in society, in situations of big reversals or tragedies or changes. You'll be there to lead people through the bridge, to lead people through the trauma, to lead people through those huge changes, because the 8th house in astrology, where those two important planets that define the social, political, economic trends for the next 20 years, a meeting in your 8th house, and the 8th house rules basically
deep transformations and changes, sudden changes, transformations. I mean, we're talking from death to divorce to getting, losing your identity, losing, and something having to change very fast. And you'll be called to be helping in such situations. Others will come to you and you're going to start feeling it from 2021. Through such very pivotal crisis, life-defining 180-degree U-turn situations in life. But let's roll back a little bit. Because for the past 2-3 years almost, Saturn has been in the opposite sign from Cancer, which means, the opposition of Saturn is felt very strongly. And Pluto has been opposing Cancer, and Jupiter in 2020 has been opposing Cancer. So a lot of you might have been feeling some kind of opposition in your life. And 7th house rules other people, as if your life has been conditioned till the end of 2020 by others. If you wanted to start something or to do something new, you always had to take into consideration another person or outer circumstances. For some reason, you had to be, they gave you a condition or restrictions about where you want to go and the direction somehow. You had to take others into consideration, repeating again. Plus, it means that your relationships, 7th house rules relationships, generally might have been tested for the last 2-3 years. Maybe there were some delays and slowing down of resolution of conflict or problems in relationships, because Saturn slows down in every way it passes to it. Kind of, you get stuck there a little bit. And Saturn takes like 2.5 years. So a lot of Cancers had to deal with kind of a stagnant situation in relationship. And sometimes, some tests appear in relationships in the extreme case scenario. Usually there might be increased responsibility. There were increased responsibilities for you with a partner, for example, like my husband is Cancer Sun. And from the moment Saturn entered his 7th house, which is me, the partner, I've been working so much. So that's what happens. Sometimes there might have been pressure on your relationship because your partner was working very hard, because your partner had many demands, not so much time for the enjoyable side of relationship as more like the let's get things done and let's fix problems and let's maybe you took on mutual responsibility in relationships that feel a bit burdensome and heavy. Maybe they took the spark. Saturn, when it transits opposite your ascendant sign, especially your moon sign, and less so the sun sign, but as well, can take out the spark and spontaneity of relationships, and not only personal relationships. I mean, one-to-one relationships with everyone, they become more of a routine. They become more of a way to cope with difficulties, to overcome, problems, or to do responsibility, to do some difficult tasks. And as well, I'm giving my husband as an example. But since Saturn entered his 7th house, even though it opposed the sun already 2 years ago, but he still feels it. We've been just taking care of mutual responsibility, taking care of babies. Saturn is duty, responsibility. And it's been straining and a little bit taken the luster and the glamour away from relationships. But if it's a good relationship, Saturn has consolidated your relationships, had made them even stronger and more committed with mutual responsibilities. If it was difficult relationship, Saturn is depicted like the death with the scythe. It chops off the unnecessary things when it comes to relationships. Sometimes it can even, create some kind of a dissatisfaction. It shows you if you're not in a good relationship or a difficult relationship, the dissatisfaction increases. It's kind of like a reality check, and it just doesn't feel fun anymore, and it just gets too heavy. And the ultimate goal of Saturn is to basically to take stock of your relationship, to correct what is wrong there, what is not going well, and in some extreme cases, maybe some of you had to separate in a relationship, had to leave behind what is the dead wood, like the dead, Saturn chops off whatever is dead and removes it. While others, their relationship became even more stronger and connected through some trials, through some mutual responsibilities. But also it means that in the past 2 years, a lot of your relationships were centered a lot more on work. Saturn is work. Maybe you had to work with your partner on something. Or maybe your partner had too many work responsibilities. Or maybe just you were much more involved with one-to-one with clients, because Saturn is something serious, business responsibility. And when usually Saturn transits the 7th house cusp, the most productive relationships are the business connected, or some if you're doing some project together, which demanded a lot of heavy responsibilities again and involvement. But usually, it's best for such relationship. And some of you, maybe if you're attracted in your personal life relationships, they were more Saturnian, maybe older partners or age difference of some sort, usually more than 5 to 7 years or higher. Or maybe they were just more elderly, more responsible people around you, more demanding as well. Your partner might have become more moody, more pressed for time, or just more. I remember when I had Saturn transiting my 7th house, my partner back then was very demanding. He was pushing me to do my business. So kind of the motivation for hard work comes from another person. You might have been forced even into that. Like I remember my partner then was putting lists for me, what to do at home, clean, do the bed, like Excel sheets, very Saturnian, like ordered. And I was resenting that, but it really put me into order. And he was really pushing me in my career. So you might have felt in another way, it's like a pressure from an outside source, usually from a partner, a close person, or some authority figure. But also, it can, how it have played out is also that the ultimate goal of Saturn in your 7th house, which finishes by the end of 2020, but I'm just recapitulating for you, is not only to test you about relationships, it often, even if you're trying to start a new relationship, Saturn transiting there can delay it, can make it like a slow, drawn-out process, or sometimes it can even freeze the possibility for relationships and contacts unless they're not personal but more work related. And and the ultimate goal is that for you to restructure your relationship has been to become more realistic about what it is that you want in relationships, what it is that is, you have to take some difficult choices there, very likely. But these lessons are finishing, guys. It's going to get, especially in that sphere, easier for you, because Saturn is moving out of there. And actually, whatever you did with your relationships for the last year, 2020, or even the previous one, will give you a very long-lasting foundation for your relationships, connections, or one-to-one interactions. And 7th house also sales. If you are someone that is in sales, maybe you had to work hard on that, developing some business or sales with clients. And now when Saturn moves out from the end of 2020, from your 7th house, you're going to see the good fruits, the hard work that you've done, whether it's for your business, for sales, for attracting clients, the results. You're going to see them once Saturn leaves. And finally, there will be the pressure going away from your relationships, demands from others, some heavy responsibilities with others. Maybe your partner not going to be anymore so moody or so demanding, or your partner's not going to be so buried at work themselves. And there will be like more lightness coming into personal relationship. And, if you've done the hard work that you did, it will pay off here in the 7th house. But they're moving into your 8th house, Saturn and Jupiter. Let's see on spiritual and personal level and material level, what does it mean? And together, first of all, let's start with ancient rule in Vedic astrology. When Saturn and Jupiter are together in the same house or in the same sign, they make this area of your life manifest. Because Jupiter brings opportunities. So from the very beginning of 2021, there will be opportunities that come in regards to this 8th house, and Saturn manifests them. Saturn makes you work hard on them, to implement them, to build structures there. So it's not just inspirations that you feel with Jupiter, but you actually get down to work with Saturn. And what is the 8th house? First of all, on the material level, it's taxes. So some of you might really get 2021, start making some tax changes or have to cope with taxes. Maybe you neglected taxes. Now you have to really take care of them, learn how to do them, for example. not some complicated, unravel some complicated knots there. There might be some opportunity even to stash away more taxes because of Jupiter. There's some hidden money, for example. But Saturn says that you have to do it in a lawful way. You know, if it was just Jupiter transiting your 8th house, I was going to tell you guys, even if you don't declare your taxes this year, it's not going to get you. You know, you can like put them in an offshore company or whatever. You can really make a lot of undeclared extra hidden money somehow. But because Saturn is there, you can find some alleviations and some loopholes when it comes to taxes and to external income that comes to you from others, but you have to do it in the legal way and, you know, make sure everything is by the correct, which is what Saturn requires, political and lawful steps. On another level, the 8th house is insurances and inheritances. Some of you might start dealing with, especially if you're in business that's connected to taxes, insurances, inheritances, you're going to be very busy, not only next year, but for 2-3 years ahead almost. But personal insurances and inheritances, that may become a topic of, you know, for some of you even might find out they have some kind of inheritance coming to them and they have to deal with such matters. And first they'll start fast because Jupiter is also there in 2021, but there might be some kind of, there will be conditions with insurances, inheritances, you know, and taxes that you have to draw out, might drag in for a couple of years after that while Saturn still is in the 8th house. So you have to be done in the legal step by step. Mutual resources is the 8th house. A lot of you Cancers might put a lot of efforts into, I don't know, investing. If you're married, your mutual marriage finances and resources. Saturn and Jupiter wants to learn more and more about investments. So you can have you can take courses or expand your knowledge about how to invest resources. Your resources are mutual resources. 8th house is investments. You know, putting your money somewhere in stock bonds or markets or in some mutual fund of some sort, or just managing the resources of others in some way. You might invest a lot of time and study and research and hard efforts. And don't expect some sudden, if it was just Jupiter transiting there, I was going to say, wow, you can invest your money and suddenly make huge bucks. Like, you know, you buy something for 5 cents and it turns, you know, into $1 and you make, you know, a few thousand times over your investment. But because Saturn is there, you have to really research well. You have to do it in the more conventional, traditional way. Jupiter will bring you the intuition and the wisdom and the right information and the right opportunities. But don't take like big risks because of Saturn there. You have to do it in more established companies. Very likely something connected also to Aquarius, to new technologies and stuff likely. But you're investing and mutual resources, it proceeds slowly, but there are opportunities there and you have to work on them. And the 8th house is also, you know, I can give you an example because Geminis in 2020 had Jupiter and Saturn transiting the 8th house, and I've been observing a few Geminis. What happens? So you know what's coming for you. So, for example, 2 of them, their husbands, because of the virus, whatever, they could not, when they were having Saturn and Jupiter in the 8th house, there were decrease of income coming from a partner because Saturn is stronger in Aquarius. No matter what we say, Jupiter is there. Yes, it will bring opportunities, but Saturn is stronger. So there can be some kind of a restriction or cleansing a little bit of the financial cash flow from a partner. And those girls had to, you know, they didn't leave their partners or whatever it is, but they were coming to me asking me, is it going to be well? But interestingly enough, they managed to create more resources by attracting money from other people. They found other clients because they both have their own businesses, and they found other clients. They really work on expanding. They really worked hard, and there were opportunities on how to expand their client base. Not so much the client base as the resources that come from client base. So sometimes Saturn in the 8th house can indicate that there is a bit of a tightening situation with resources from a partner. But because Jupiter is also there in 2021, there will be opportunities to find for your partner, even to find new, to work towards more financial security and to find new opportunities, because the 8th house is your partner's money. So your partner will be working very hard on new opportunities for finances. And it's okay if some are locked down and some are slowed down. And the final results might take a little bit longer to see the final results, but they're on a path of creating more financial security, getting more educated financially, becoming more mature in regards to finances. And they will have, because if it was just Saturn there, it might be really blocked, finances coming from your partner, or support, financial, emotional, moral. But because of Jupiter there, there are some restrictions you have to, and some conditions. At the same time, new opportunities are coming, and your partner will take them, and your partner will, it's not only that, your partner will take them, but there'll be certain conditions that come with that. And sometimes it means that a couple is saving for something long term. They might be saving, and that's why their mutual resources, they have to be more organized, more structured with that. Might be saving for a house, they might be saving for education, but it's something that they feel happy and inspired about, because Jupiter is also there. There is a purpose to this restriction. So even though it's almost like if they have to make a sacrifice and restrict financially, they know what the purpose is. Jupiter is meaning, purpose, for something into the future, very likely. Another way this can play out, this 8th house, is, let me give you a few examples, because Gemini have been having Saturn and Jupiter in the 8th house in the last 2020. So I saw a lot of, how it can play out. Because it's the house of sudden transformations and changes, something very surprising, even shocking can happen when Saturn and Jupiter both enter at the same time your 8th house Cancer, from the 8th of 2021, from the end of 2020, so December 2020. So from the beginning of 2021, some event that surprises you, that's out of the blue, sudden changes. This is the 8th house. The house, like tornado, spins everything around suddenly, can come. It can be something good, it can be something, I cannot tell you. Your specific horoscope has to be seen. Even then it's a bit hard, but something shocking, surprising happens and spins you out, definitely. And then, while Saturn and Jupiter are there the whole year, you have to work through that. You have to adapt your life to this new sudden change that has come. It might even take 2.5 years, 2021, 22, for you to fully work through that change that happens in 2021 with both those planets in sudden changes. And I don't want to scare you, but it's something to be prepared about. More like, it's almost like you're learning with those two planets how to do emergency, how to react in emergency moments, crisis situations, critical situations. And because the ultimate goal of the 8th house is emotional strength. And when do we receive emotional strength? We only achieve it after we've been thrown in the midst of a, tornado, in the midst of really big vicissitude, very big changes in life, suddenly, fast, bam, bam. And then we learn how to, in the midst of those waves, because this is like 8th house, boom, in the midst of that, almost like a washing machine, spins you around, and what the hell, up is down, the wheel of fortune spins suddenly, for good or bad, but it's shocking to the body. Whether it's good or bad, it's shocking, Sometimes it might be that suddenly you meet the love of your life, but you're married. There's always something there in the 8th house, something starts secretive, and it spins your whole life around, so you have to leave one partner and go be with another partner. Or sometimes there might be, in extreme cases, death in the family. You are not dying, don't worry. This is not transit when you die. But there might be someone around you in extreme cases. I don't want to scare you. From about 500 Gemini that I've spoken in the past 2 years, I think only 2 or 3 experienced death that was serious. Not themselves, but one had her child die when Saturn transited her 8th house from the beginning, and the 2.5 years after that, she was coping with that grief, because 8th house are deep emotions. And but most of the other Gemini, that I know you're Cancers, but I'm talking as an example, that had Saturn Jupiter in the 8th house, basically something unexpected happens, and they learn and big changes, and they learn a lot of emotional strength in the midst of that. But let me give you a few other much more positive examples, because the 8th house rules death and rebirth, though extreme things. It's the portal where is the portal between the invisible and visible world. It's one of the houses, so it's also conception and birth. So I had a few Gemini clients, Gemini rising, who got pregnant, because it's a gate from life or to life, or from death to life. So either the coming of life, the going of life. So they got pregnant. Conception is the 8th house. And as I said, when Jupiter and Saturn are together, they manifest this 8th house. So for some of you, it can mean pregnancy, Cancers, especially if your moon is in Cancer or your ascendant. Not so much the sun. The sun is not so much connected to that. Okay, maybe 20% possibility for Cancer Sun, but for Ascendant Moon, the 8th house, Saturn, Jupiter, there's a bigger possibility. Another thing with the 8th house that I saw is, transformation of the body, because 8th house is transformation of the whole identity. It has the quality of Pluto, big transformation. So I saw people who had this transit in the 8th house over the last 1 year, who've been trying to lose weight for years, and they couldn't. And suddenly those 2 planets, allow them to spin the wheel, and shift starts happening to transform the body physically. So I saw 2 of my best friends, Gemini rising, they lost like so much weight. They've never been slim, and they have like a body of an athlete now within a year. I was like, wow, that's huge. So Cancers, you can expect something like that, to really transform especially Cancer rising people I have seen is more likely, because the rising is the physical body. But possibility for Ascendant and Moon, maybe not as high as for the Sun and Moon, not as high as the Ascendant, but still possible. And I've also seen other people who had this transit in 2020. They start businesses with their partners, marriage partners, and they were, managing the money, the mutual finances and resources. They had to give a lot of support to their partner as well. It's another thing that can manifest as well. But on a psychological level, a lot of you might get very interested in 8th house matters, to really research them. And I talked at the beginning about that. And that's astrology, that's the occult, that's life after death, that's psychology, that's working with the psychology and investigating deeply the secrets of life, the mysteries, the deep motivation psychologically. And it's an internal process. It's a lot of internal work. And so if you're an astrologer or someone like that, actually it can manifest through your career and your work, that you have some very profound research and understanding of astrology, of the occult, of tarot. Or if you're a psychologist, deep penetrating, you can contribute a lot in that area over the next 2-3 years, starting with 2021. You can really upgrade your knowledge there. But other people who are not in those fields, they might get drawn to those fields because, as I said, the ultimate goal of the 8th house is to give you emotional strength. And what gives us emotional strength? If we the thing that can give us emotional strength the most and overcome fear is if we lose fear from death, because death is the ultimate fear, and 8th house rules death. So sometimes it might be that some, as I said, experience that brings us on the verge of to start thinking about your own mortality. I don't want to say someone will die around you, not at all. As I told you, very few people from the ones that have those transits, this happen for them, but it is a possibility, don't leave it. But something brings you to the need to investigate your mortality, and that's why you start digging to overcome the biggest fear, which is fear from death or fear from big changes in life, and you start researching and studying it. That's why I was saying that ultimately this quest that you start now can lead you to become psychologists or just like healers of the soul for others that are going through huge transitions in life, whether divorce or, forced some kind of crisis in life or death that is happening around them. So, but you're going first through this initiation. Sorry about that. And you're digging deep, and I'll tell you, if you want to avoid possibly the more cruel manifestation of this 8th house, like crisis and being on the verge and having to experience more darker things, you should consciously strive towards digging deep. Start reading astrology, life after past lifetimes, reincarnation, such kind of occult or psychological topics that are deeper. Or if you're a scientist, deep research as well, it's another thing. Deep investigation. And then you already generate this energy of the 8th house, so the universe doesn't have to throw you in that depth, forcefully. But a lot of people I have seen when Saturn and Jupiter transited the 8th house, they started a deep journey of investigation and exploration of their soul, of their karma, of spirituality, of the invisible worlds. They turned to astrology. Funny enough, I started studying astrology with one of those transits, just one of those planets as well. But it was Jupiter, but I really deepened it when Saturn transited in the 8th house. So that I would advise you, if you can take courses, classes, or watch such videos, or maybe Gaia, Gaia TV does a lot of topics on the occult, the hidden, conspiracy theories as well as the 8th house. Anything that is buried and hidden, you might get really into that. Doing some energy healing, some going to workshops for healing traumas. Oh, I forgot to tell you the most important things of the 8th house is moksha, liberation. And you'd say, wow, I'll be liberated, but the process is intense because it's a liberation from painful feelings and traumas that are stored in our emotional body, that block the chakras, that block the flow of energy in the chakras as well. So all the traumas from past lifetimes and present are buried in this 8th house. And Saturn and Jupiter, they're going, they stir the pot. And especially painful feelings, Saturn can evoke those, and Jupiter can help them come to the surface. So feelings of guilt, of shame, of anger, if you have not forgiven people, of, they might have done awful stuff for you, and it's hard to forgive. So all those things, they're awakened. So that's not an easy process. They awaken so they can be released. So it's like a karmic release that will continue for 2.5 years, but it starts full speed in 2021. It's some event is going to unlock them, some psychological state or something that awakens those feelings that you probably thought you didn't have, that are buried. They might be deep jealousy or deep extreme desire or extreme hatred or some extreme feelings that usually these are the traumatic feelings that we bury and they awaken, or you were hurt maybe in the past, they awaken, and you are called to really examine them and to look at them and to try and heal them, and the healing process is slow, but there will be opportunities. Saturn is there. The healing process lasts for about 2.5 years of this liberation from heavy feelings. Not 2.5 years, 2 years, 21 and 22. After that it comes out of it. But this process of cleansing and removing and going through those feelings starts in 2021 with full force, with a lot of opportunity to find the right counselors, Jupiter, or astrologers or advisors, or the right resources to dig deep and to understand this trauma and to start releasing it. And then the process slows down a little bit in 22. It becomes kind of like you have a huge breakthrough psychologically with that in 2021, and you do most of the work then, but then it drags out and slows down a little bit in 2022, and then you're fully out of it and fully free by 2023. In 2023, you'd feel like a new person. You'd feel reborn. This is the house of death and rebirth. And especially in regards to your social role and who you are, especially in relationships. Why am I talking? There'll be like the possible death and rebirth for many of you in relationships, because Saturn rules your 7th house. And for now, it's been kind of stagnating relationships while it was in the 7th house itself. Maybe freezing them in a certain state without big changes or developments, or maybe your relationship status was kind of a bit frozen without changes and developments. But when Saturn enters the house and it rules your relationships, it enters the house of big transformations, sudden changes. It's also the house of divorce. If finally a relationship can suddenly change very quick, it can happen because 8th house spins things fast. You might be freed as well if you're not in the right relationship, While you are working on the issues of the relationship, when Saturn was here, now it's like the final solution for it. Or it can be that if you're in a good relationship, this relationship undergoes a big transformation. And it takes about 2 years. So your partner will be going through a big transformation for the next 2.5 years, because Saturn represents your partner. While for the last 2 years, Saturn was in the 7th house, so your partner had responsibilities, heavy duties and stuff like that. Maybe they were more blocked. Maybe they were starting something new, and because, and they have to be focused on that, and that drained the excitement from the relationship. Something is going to happen with the identity, where it kind of changes, where it transforms. So the status of your relationships can be transformed. And in ancient astrology, 8th house rules hidden relationships. There is a possibility of some of you to start a hidden relationship. Or if you have one, it seems like it might be carrying on there. But I can tell you, when Jupiter transited my 8th house, when Saturn transited my 8th house, I was in a private hidden relationship that lasted many years. And it was painful when Saturn was there in the 8th house, and it kind of created some blockages to the relationship, to being able to see each other and stuff. But when Jupiter transited there, I started sudden relationship with my current husband. I was still not divorced. I was in a process of separation. We were living separate with my previous husband, but I started a hidden relationship. But Jupiter made it happen very easy. So I was trying to figure out, okay, how is it going to play out? Saturn makes hidden relationships very hard. Jupiter makes them very easy. So, and I turned back to see some other people that have been having Saturn and Jupiter in the last 1 year together in the 8th house. And basically, they can be an opportunity for sudden renewal of a relationship. We'll talk as the existing relationship. For transformation of that relationship is not going to be the same, but it might take a longer time. Or also there can be the possibility of starting something more private. And Victor, actually, one of the best astrologers I know, he's noticed that when the 8th house is activated by planetary transits, this is when people can make soulmates. And there is a very strong sexual chemistry. And I can definitely attest to that, but I just had it when Jupiter transited there, and it's like, wow, sexual healing. It's like such release and healing that can happen, and liberation through meeting a soulmate relationship. But with Saturn and Jupiter, it's like this process is not going to be so sudden. The healing that can happen through a sexual relationship might take like a couple of years, but it kicks off full speed and intensely in 2021, and then it can slow down this process in 2022. But yes, there is possibility that you meet now a soulmate-like relationship, and there can be something private about it, or something very sexually alchemical about it as well, that helps you release a lot of pent-up emotions. So interesting. But there will be some conditions there because of Saturn. There will be certain obstacles that have to be overcome, but the opportunity is also there because of Jupiter, and the sense of meaningfulness and the sense of deep sexual connection that Jupiter can give as well. But with Saturn, there's certain things to work through. And it's also, some of you might start working very deeply on a sexual transformation, sexual transmutation of like Tantra and stuff like that. Again, it's an occult, it's more spiritual interest that the person develops. On the negative side, it might indicate you becoming secretive and hiding certain things. Let's hope that's not it, you know. Maybe some internal work is definitely necessary. Let me think. I had so many things to say, but it's sometimes like I kind of, this 8th house is just so profound and so deep. And my mind skips around. Just a second. So, okay, so to sum it up, so I don't, you know, dig myself too much in this hole of the 8th house, is that ultimately Saturn and Jupiter, they in the 8th house want to help you release a lot of painful feelings, traumatic feelings that are pent up. And it starts powerfully, but it might take 2 years. So it might feel turbulent. It might feel a bit like purgatory emotionally from time to time. But believe me, I've gone through both transits there. And at the end of those transits, you feel brand new. This is death and rebirth, the phoenix bird. It's there. And I think there will be already from 2021 big transformations on the physical level, especially for Cancer rising people and Cancer moon as well. There will be big transformations emotionally for the Cancer moon people, like shedding off emotional burden. But you'll fully be free from this tunnel when all the planets come out of the 8th house, and you'll feel lighter and breezy. It's incredible how you know, kind of the karma you shed when you shed it, how light, it's like a new consciousness. But you're passing through the tunnel of initiation now, like in the 8th house, the house of initiate. They have to pass through a narrow tunnel, or they leave them for 3 days, you know, in a coffin in the pyramids there in the dark, and their soul leaves their body and they go, and this is the initiation. And when they come back, they enlighten. The enlightenment comes when the planets move into your 9th house, so from 2022, 23. But now you're doing this initiation for 2021. People that love intense things would love it if you're a Cancer. If you don't like intense things, it's time to start liking them. Time to start digging deep into chemistry, occult magic, into alchemistry, occult magic, astrology, life after death, psychology, such profound themes through this period. So this is you're in the birth canal. And while Saturn is there, you are, you know, you're only going to come out of the birth canal when Saturn and Jupiter move into the 9th house. All right, so interesting. Let's say, what else is going to happen? Oh yes, I forgot to tell you, I've often seen when the 8th house is triggered by Saturn. Saturn is duties and responsibilities. Naturally, this is it's a career house. Is when people can make a big change in their career, in their worldly responsibilities and duties. I've seen it many times, especially in regards when it happens from the ascendant sign and possibly from the sun sign. When they can start like a big transition, it might take a couple of years fully. But because big transformation, 8th house of worldly responsibilities and career. And usually the career that you start now can be something that's very lasting. Like when I started astrology, Saturn was transiting my 8th house, for example. So that's a possibility as well. It's just, yes, so you can return that, watch it many times, because there are so many things that were talked about this 8th house. It can be emotionally more intense, but remember, it's a period of death and rebirth, psychologically, emotionally, and even if at moments, because it is Saturn after that, it feels too hard emotionally, just watch this video to remember, to see what the ultimate goal is. More emotional stability eventually, more profoundness and depth to you, initiation to a higher consciousness, which comes towards the end, a deep transformation that might take a bit longer as well. And then another important thing is where the nodes of the moon are. The nodes of the moon are called the karmic nodes in astrology, and in ancient astrology they were one of the most important indications. Well, interestingly enough, for you Cancer, the North Node, wherever the North Node is where you get more of, where you have to take more with full hands, where you experience where you dive into that more excitedly, let's say, with more passion, where the South Node is where you let go a little bit of things. So for you, the North Node, the whole 2021, will be in the 12th house, which actually is a sign for me. It's again an internal liberation house, moksha. You see, liberation house here of releasing, of basically processing feelings, and so is the 12th house. It's the house of endings, completions, with Rahu there. The invisible world. Rahu will make you very passionate about exploring spirituality, maybe going on a retreat. 12 houses to retreat, to disconnect from the busyness of the world, to get in touch with your higher self, or to get in touch with the stillness inside, whatever it is, or just becoming very excited about and passionate about maybe learning to meditate, learning to relax in different ways. This is the 12th house. How do you escape worldly responsibilities? So might be a fantastic way to explore different ways of relaxing, breaking the mold there, because Rahu wants something different than what you've done till now. So if you normally take a glass of wine or sleeping pills to relax, or just zone out in front of the TV, Rahu can make you passionate about exploring different ways of escaping reality. Unusual, and it can even make an opportunity for you to travel to faraway places, or to visit an ashram or some retreat or some spiritual workshop. These are all things you might feel very excited about, and almost like you have the green card for them. Rahu allows things to happen, manifest them materially, and these are the 12th house. So if any such opportunity comes, especially in a faraway country, or to explore foreign spirituality of some sort, or mysticism, foreign mysticism, it's definitely you'll be into such things. Again, you see this more introspective, introvert side that is being, it's an internal process again. And 12th house is exploring past lifetimes. Wow, it's so many repeating themes with Saturn, Jupiter in the 8th house and Rahu in the 12th. So you're working a lot on your inner internal life in 2021, especially if you're Cancer rising, moon in Cancer, you'll feel that. And some of you, Rahu in the 12th house can grant an opportunity to live abroad, to relocate to a foreign country, to manifest it materially. It can grant an opportunity to for a lot of foreign connections of some sort. For example, when my husband had Rahu transiting his 12th house, it was the first time he ever left his country and went into Europe, and contact with faraway different cultures and people. That's another possibility. So, well, others can travel. Cancer, for some reason, might be able, but these, both the 8th house and that is triggered by Saturn and Jupiter for you, it's a house of healing. The ultimate goal, I forgot to mention that, is to heal something. And it might take a couple of years to fully heal it, but it's like a miraculous process starts and is unlocked from 2021 to heal a long-standing illness, to heal, to transform, to transform that. But it might drag out 2 years until Saturn is there, this full process of healing. So don't be impatient. And the 12th house is again to let go, where Rahu is again connected to healing. It's again connected to release of attachment to old feelings and modes of being. So you see that there is another activation here that's happening. And you're going to do it through very much some spiritual means, or psychology or an astrologer. 12th house is connected to those, or spiritual guide, or a psychic you might work with, even though if you're in those fields, astrology, occult, psychology, trauma healing, life after death. Wow, powerful years for your career. 2021 will be something. You'll have such deep, profound, results and advancement with your work and with your career, and deep realizations. Any kind of research is also 12th house, just like the 8th. Wow. I mean, like a lot of Cancers, I see them spending a lot of time researching, digging deep to understand something in depth. Breakthrough in researches. North Node in the 12th house. Foreign investments, interesting. 12th house is long-term investments. Rahu there, something like that, or spending money abroad. That's another manifestations I've seen. Rahu is foreign countries, so is 12 houses expenses, or some long-term investment that is connected to a foreign country. In 2021 can come as an opportunity. Is it good? I think so, because Rahu is making trines to Saturn, to Jupiter, to Saturn. So I think very likely it's going to be good if such opportunity comes. And if you have an opportunity to travel abroad, I think it can be very healing for you. It can shift your consciousness, because these are consciousness houses, the 8, the 12, the consciousness of the soul. So some kind of like, again, initiation process almost. And definitely your spirituality is increasing, Cancer. Those of you who are on a spiritual path, you'll be delighted by 2021. You'll be delighted by the depth, the profoundness that you discover, the level of consciousness, how it's changing and shifting. It might not be fast and immediate, because Saturn is involved, but it is happening. And Rahu in the 12th house, they can be like sudden remembrance of past lifetimes as well, or things from the past that come to the surface, again, to be worked through in some way, to investigate such topic. Oof, all right. And one negative manifestation that I have to warn about Rahu is insatiable. And the 12th house is the house of addictions and self-undoing. So these can be, for some reason, they can escalate. If you have especially addictions to poisonous things, Rahu rules poisonous things, so does the 8th house. And it might not be fully able to eliminate a poisonous thing from your life until Saturn leaves the 8th house, because Saturn can manage and regulate poisonous substances, which is also the 8th house, but not fully eliminate them until it leaves. But you're starting a process of eliminating something poisonous from your life, something that might first escalate because of Rahu in the 12th house, of self-sabotaging behavior, self-undoing behavior, and especially if some substances are involved, it can escalate a little bit, and then by 2022, sometime there, it can fully be removed from your life, or at least the mental obsession for it. You might stop it before that, but Saturn demands that you regulate such kind of things. For a couple of years. You can't fully get out of that mentally, psychologically, until Saturn is out of this 8th house. And actually with Rahu transiting the 12th house, I think it might be a good idea for some of you to even give yourself a break. You need a break, because the South Node is always in the opposite house. It's an axis, and it's transiting your 6th house of work and worldly responsibilities and duties, and getting, paying debts, and just running the everyday reality, managing it, organizing it, running errands. Well, Ketu is there. You kind of lose temporarily interest towards those things. You kind of lose your passion and desire for such things for a little bit. You're like, you just way more want to go into that Rahu position, the 12th house. You want to explore the invisible. You want to even daydream or just go on holidays. 12th house is holidays, faraway countries, whatever. And zone out for a little bit, go within rather than be busy with the material world and coping with the responsibilities. So if you can find a way to kind of go away for a little bit in 2021, that you're separated from a normal reality, some retreat or some kind of a healing thing or workshop, fantastic. These, especially where you're going to dig deep, or you're going to do some research, or stay with your thoughts, with your feelings present there, to process feelings of any sort, or to shake off feelings of any sort. This is the year. It's fantastic for that. And kind of almost with South Node in the 6th house, do the bare minimum when it comes to work and responsibilities of some sort, But there is positives also from South Node in the 6th house. The positive is that you might let go of certain duty, certain responsibility that's been heavy on you for some time. It might kind of complete and end. You can release it. The 6th house is connected to illness as well. South Node transiting there, and it might be the end of a karma, and it's almost like a health issue that's connected to past life karma, because South Node rules past life karma, that you're working through it in 2021, and by the end of the time when the North Node, South Node leaves the 6th house, you can be done with some health issue that's been karmic, that's been, it's South Node empties, so you can empty a certain, especially physical health issue. So this year is a lot about healing for you, Cancers, 2021. The emotional healing, the leaving the emotional baggage with this 8th house, with the 12th house Rahu, with South Node in the 6th house of physical ailments and physical karma and death. Illness is usually a death of some sort that we carry. And letting go of the victimization state of mind. This is the 6th house as well. Rahu releases it. Of self-blaming or blaming others. Rahu will allow you to detach from it, to disconnect somehow, to excrete it. A lot of excreting happening here. Ketu symbolizes the tail of the dragon, where the feces come out of, and it's in the 6th house. You release karmic burdens, duties, responsibilities that you thought you had to carry on your shoulders, and especially health. Some health karma can complete for you, or some physical debt, some material debt. Even it can be completing debt to a bank or something like that. That's another thing can happen. Plus, the 8th house is where Saturn and Jupiter is the house of the colon, where the anus, where we excrete again, and you're excreting difficult feelings there. So, wow, you're purging, guys, this year. 6th house on, what else can it be? Job, work, career, responsibility. Some of you might kind of get disinterested in their job or let go of it, or, especially around the eclipse times in 6th house, which the eclipses are lunar eclipse May 26th, or around May or June. Some of you might leave a job, for example, or complete some health issue, as I said, releasing of the South Node, to complete some work project. Around May 26th is in your 6th house. There is a lunar eclipse about completions, endings, some karmic duty, responsibility to another. Some karmic 6th house is enemies, some kind of court cases as well. If you're fighting legally with someone, or if someone is like your arch enemy, or if someone is a bother, they've been criticizing you, blaming you, there might be the completion and ending and separation with such enmity, such situation of conflict and complete around the full moon in Sagittarius. And then there is another new moon in Sagittarius in December the 4th, so towards the end, so either May, June, or around December, or even November, that there is these themes of releasing the 6th house, ending karma there, changing something with career, letting go of some workmates as well, or employees. Some of you might separate from a certain employee or co-workers as well. That's another possibility. Or the work environment as well. So especially they escalate around the eclipses, and then there are eclipses in your 12th house in Sagittarius, in Gemini, in June the 10th. It's a solar eclipse, new beginning in this 12th house. Some of you might be like an opportunity to travel to faraway country. Another one can be an opportunity to start some healing spiritual process, some insight about past lifetimes, or start on some journey of releasing addictions, or 12 houses, addictions of any sort, to tackling addictions of any sort as well. 12th house is also the house of the imagination, so maybe creative project connected to imagination that you can start around the new moon there around June, or adventure in a foreign country, all of those things that I said. And then the last eclipse is in Taurus, in your 11th house, not the last, the November eclipse. It's lunar eclipse in Taurus, 27 degrees. That's more connected to friendships, maybe completion of a friendship, or fulfillment of a project with a friend, or some business, because 11th house is business, some realized gains and earnings around the second eclipse, of the first eclipse in November. So the November eclipse around the 19th, realized gains or rewards of some sort, completion full moon, seeing the results of gains, business activities of some sort, the rewards of that. Might be a crisis situation connected to friendships, but seeing the results of that as well. Okay, so these are the eclipses, but mostly they're on the 6th and your 12th house, and we talked a lot about those. So letting go of some worldly responsibility, going more on a spiritual quest, foreign countries, traveling, possibly, letting go of some job or work and exploring unknown territories, which is the 12th house more. Okay. And then we're gonna have Mercury retrogrades for you guys. Mercury retrogrades, there are 3 Mercury retrogrades, and guess where they're happening? Again, in those liberation moksha houses of the feelings, of the internal life. There's like a lot of internal alchemistry that is happening here, guys. If you've been it's like huge transformation inside on the feelings, on the soul level. And it might not be still so visible on the outside for others, but believe me, that's where the biggest changes happen. And the biggest changes that externally manifest after that happen from within. So Mercury is going to be retrograde first in your 8th house. So that's this theme of the 8th house we talked about. Life and death, birth and rebirth, transformation, secrets, investigation, occult, private relationships, soulmate relationships as well, sexual chemistry and alchemistry, healing, deep transformation and healing gets triggered so strongly at the start of the year. And the first Mercury retrograde is from January the 30th till February the 20th in your 8th house. So that can be time when you're revising taxes, insurances, inheritances. Mercury is the manager, the accountant. You might have to fix something there. You might have to have explanatory conversations, redo something a few times, put extra mental powers there, extra thinking. You might be revising something connected to your mutual resources and finances with a partner, or business budget with a partner of some sort. You might be revising your strategy, how to attract resources from clients and profits from clients as well. You might be working on some projects connected to occult, to digging under the surface. You might be having a lot of you might feel drawn to go with a counselor, an astrologer, or someone of the occult to work on deeper issues, to go through them, to think about them, read about them, transform them, to ponder them with the mind, with the logical mind, which is Mercury, to research about them. So you start on these deep topics, spirituality, occult, conspiracy, digging deep into the past of your past life, past previous times, exploring previous trauma, talking about things about the past connected to secrets. Some secrets can come to the surface with Mercury retrograde in this period that I talked, big part of February, most of till the 20th of February. All right, so these are some of the topics you might have. Or mutual finance and resources. Don't take risks when Mercury is retrograde financially. Your partner might be trying to do some changes financially, so it might be a bit of a shaky time about that. But you might be just thinking to rebudget, to reimagine, to reinvent, to reorganize your finances and your mutual partner's finances. So money can come to you from previous investments that you've already put. But there is some change and shift in the direction of investments that happens when Mercury is retrograde there, that you have to work on, that you have to fix, that you have to discuss with, to examine, or return on investments. The best case scenario is that, or something comes back to you that was owed to you from another person, or maybe you've applied for a loan or something ago, or someone owes you money and now Mercury goes retrograde and you hear back from them, or there is development. But usually Mercury retrograde can delay things there. So some financial project of your partner, or in investments, or with other people's resources, something has to be fixed, to be improved. Then, and as I said, on the psychological level, it's clarifying conversations with an intimate partner, talking about secrets, finding out something that is private, maybe having private conversations more in secret as well that are possible for some of you. My Cancer husband, I'll strangle him if there's anything like that. Maybe we'll discuss something, you know, some deep kind of emotional, psychological themes as well that can happen when Mercury is retrograde in your 8th house, because you're trying to fix a problem of the intimacy, of the trust. This is the 8th house of the deep bond, and there might be the need for such conversations there. All right. And then Mercury goes retrograde again in your 12th house. Again, emotional, feeling house. It's everything is happening in secret for you, Cancers. Oh, this year, you know, especially for Cancer Moon and Cancer Ascendant. The Sun is not so much, you know, connected. The Sun is more career connected and stuff like that. The Sun in Cancer. So the second Mercury retrograde is in June. Happens most of June till the 22nd of June, from the end of May till the 22nd of June, May 29th till June 22nd in your 12th house. So digging again into the past, things that were buried come to the surface to be discussed, to be communicated, things that you probably hid, you might want to, you know, to bring them up, or something that you, some misunderstanding, some information that has to be brought up again to be discussed, something private, or restarting private communication with someone, private connection with someone behind the scenes. Oh my God. And there is also, but okay, it doesn't have to be that, but there is also research. This is the 12th house, that you start digging deep again when Mercury goes retrograde, studying, revising some old knowledge as well, or completing some project that requires a lot of your Mercury attention. 12th house is to complete, to end, to prepare something behind the scenes for, to study, to research. That's Mercury. But also Mercury is devices, electronic communication devices. So when it's in the 12th house, there's the possibility that you might discover, you know, mistakes or something, some hidden information there. Or you might be careful not to lose passwords, or to have your security breached on social media, or lose phones or laptops, or break or water damage. You know, these are things you have to be more careful in the end of May and most of June. Also be careful not to get into some kind of gossip situation around that time, talking behind someone's back. Try to avoid secretive actions that can harm another person, especially secret words behind other people's backs. It can backfire a little bit, you know, not a little bit. But also you can figure out something that others have been talking about you behind the scenes, and it comes to you and like, wow, you know, you find out certain things. Also, it's about correcting some mistakes in communications, in, you know, in such project behind the scenes type of thing. But I wish for, or in examining deep, or again, working with a psychologist, with someone who can deep in the subconscious, examining the past, having dreams about the past, talking about the past. The 12th house rules all the past, you know, bringing things from the past so you can examine them and, you know, make more sense of them, so to speak. It can also mean triggering this retreat I was talking about. For example, digging deep, going on a retreat, or a faraway country somewhere, or you can even go back to a faraway country that you've been before. Mercury retrograde, or if you've been planning some faraway trip from before, you can finally go when Mercury goes retrograde, because it's something, retrograde means something from the past that hasn't happened, that comes back now for you to complete it. But also be careful, Mercury retrograde in the 12th house, there can be sometimes some obstacles with travels in foreign countries, like getting lost and confused, and getting lost in translation and miscommunications as well. But it's great for deep study, for deep research, for deep investigation, for exploring some mantras with words, say like 12 houses meditation and spiritual practices. Mercury's words like a mantra word, or some spiritual practice that requires using the brain, like the focus of the mind of some sort. But I think a lot of you might just be revisiting the past and trying to explain certain things about the past. There might be certain expenses around that time connected with traveling, Mercury connected with devices, communications, books. You might invest to spend money on courses and things like that. All right. And let's see. And the last Mercury retrograde is in your 4th house. And it's happening from September 26th to October 27th, September 27th to October 18th. So most of October, basically. And it's going to affect some of you in specific degrees. Those of you Cancers who are born with Cancer Sun, Moon, or Rising from 10 till 26 degrees. You'll feel this Mercury retrograde the most. From 10 till 26 degrees, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant. Or if it's your Sun in Cancer, if you're born from the 1st of July till the 19th of July, this Mercury retrograde, you'll feel it very strongly. And in particular, you have to be careful, everything Mercury related, because it's a square aspect Mercury does for those degrees, those people born those days or those degrees, 10 to 26 degrees. Miscommunications, fixing mistakes connected to business project, works project, working extra hard with your skills and knowledge, to understand something or to manage some project, for example. Be careful with driving, with traveling, with communication devices, with infrastructure, with what you say. It can create, there might be the needs, some emotional issues to be spoken about. And because it's in the 4th house, and now I'm talking about all Cancers, not just the degrees, but they'll feel it the strongest. They will be, 4th house is the house of the emotions. So you might want to speak about deep feelings and emotions, bring things again from the past. It is connected to childhood, to family matters that were buried, and you want to discuss them. There might be the need for some clarification and clarifying conversations with family members. Say if you don't want certain things in your family, and you kind of, certain things that are bothering you, and you want to fix them, and you say, okay, I want to rearrange the house, or we have to do some repairs in the house when Mercury is retrograde, or we have to fix, the sleeping situation or whatever, or with your flatmates, you might have to have clarifying conversation. What are the rules? What are the new rules there? Or with your family, something might be a spouse as well that you're talking with about family matters and the affairs of the family that you're reprogramming, or you have to change somehow. You have to change the strategy in regards to family or to home. Some adjustment there is needed, some extra effort, mental, psychological, So the first Mercury retrograde, again, deep psychological conversation, which is in February, more about secrets, about intimacy, or the need to change strategy with taxes, with insurances, inheritances, mutual finances and resources, your partner's resources, or investments. If you're an investor, something changes there, or returns. The second Mercury retrograde, which is mostly in, we said in June, it's in your 12th house. Again, secrets from the past, clarifying conversations about feelings, unspoken things that can come, maybe foreign investment, some research. And the last one is home and family. Things from the past again that you're changing, that you're some movement might be there, trip with the family can be happening, or returning back to a place of where you've been before, considered home and family or property of some sort. It's busy, busy, interesting times. And Venus will be in your sign Cancer from the 2nd of June to the 28th of June. So most of June, while Mercury is retrograde in your 12th house, Venus is in your sign Cancer. That's auspicious month. Just be careful if you're traveling somewhere not to get lost a little bit in translation, as we said here, with Mercury in the 12th house, or just hiding things, type of thing in communications. But usually it's when Venus transits one sign, there is love, there is possibility for emotional connection, for more pleasure. So it can be a good time in June to travel, for example, to a place of pleasure, or to go on a date, or to start dating even, or to just be careful with this Mercury retrograde. It might be more private, for example, or it might be that there's some miscommunication, or there's the possibility when Venus transit Cancer that you make more money, that you're financially, there is like a good financial month for you as well, more pleasures, more enjoyments, more likable, more attractive. You can do great. It can be time to do things to improve your beauty, to do some self-care as well. If you want to go shopping, might be a good time because Venus transiting your sign. You tend to attract beautiful things of good value and so on. And now I'm going to give you some very specific degrees. Only a few Cancers will feel that. And the first one is Uranus. Uranus this year is transiting in your 11th house, but only certain Cancers will feel it. Those who are born from around the 2nd till the 7th of July will feel Uranus sextile, or if you have your ascendant or moon in Cancer, those who have from around 10 till 15 degrees Uranus. Actually 6 till 15 degrees, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, but Uranus becomes retrograde, so 3 times 10 till 15 degrees. Cancer, Sun, Moon, or Rising, they feel it the most, while the 6 to 10 degrees, they started feeling it already in 2020, and they will feel it for one last time in 2021. So, but okay, let's start from 6 till 15 degrees. You're having Uranus transit, which is a sextile. So I cannot give you the specific day because for everyone is different, depends what your degree you are. But Uranus sextile from the 11th house, fantastic. You're going to feel this influence, and that's some opportunity, some new interest. Uranus is new novelty energy. And because it's a good aspect, it does not disrupt your life, it enhances it. There might be novelty to experiment, novelty if it's your moon in your relationships, place of living, possibility, for example, if it's your moon to relocate, but it happens easy, or to do something new about your house, or to start an emotional connection anew, that's kind of exciting, and but it's not disruptive in any way. To infuse excitement into emotional connections, to uplift you from depression or negative feelings as well, because this energy is exciting, to get you interested in the occult and alternative information as well, to get your mind on fire, whether it's your Sun, Moon, or Ascendant. For example, my husband already started having this Uranus sextile, and this year he was like a reborn person. So I'm just giving you an example so you know what you can expect. He developed passion and interest in stock markets, and he's like reading voraciously and studying, and I love seeing him excited. I love seeing him alive. Uranus brings this feeling of aliveness, of something that grabs your interest, and it's something new. You haven't done it before. And because it's in the 11th house, it can be introduced to you. You can learn a lot about it from groups, online participation, or you can meet people online that excite you, or people in your social environment, new friends. You can make new friends when Uranus makes sextile from the 11th house to your ascendant in particular, to your moon, to the degree, to the sun as well, but they might not be with COVID and everything face-to-face. I hope there are face-to-face. You're expanding your network with new interesting people. And my husband was like, he didn't have any friends till this year, and Uranus sextiled his sun from the 11th house, and now he has like 50 new friends on his online groups, like they're talking all the time, exchanging pictures, and he finds it exciting, and I love it. I love seeing him like that. So other people, groups of people can excite you. You can become socially more active. You can start participating in social movements. You can get politically excited about topics. about society, the trends in society. You can be very attuned to the trends in society. You can have your hand on the pulse of society. The 11th house is that, and Uranus makes you very attuned there. What are the collective trends? And that's why it's also good for stock market and for investment in markets. 11th house rules markets of any sorts and businesses. Because business ideas can come to you for your career, especially if it's your sun in Cancer, because it rules career. Ascendant and moon possibly as well, with the moon like more like new habits that you can introduce, new changes to habits, to old habits, that you integrate them very easy, and that you kind of flow with those new habits and daily routines and new emotional connections and changes with your family in a positive way and emotionally uplifted energy. With the ascendant is everything that we talked. It might be even improve some kind of a bit of a shift in physical appearance, more energy, excite a bit, new friends that bring opportunities, new business opportunities, new social economic goals, and that's the same for the sun as well, that you're uplifted with those things. And I think if you have business ideas this year and you're born those degrees or those days from, go for it, because it's gonna flow. And despite of everything else that I said, if you are those degrees, you feel the most important transit for you is this Uranus transit this year. So if you're especially from around 10 to 15, 16 degrees, 10 to 15 degrees in Cancer, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, all this Uranus, new trends, influences, great. You just focus on that. This will be the most important thing for you in next year. Expanding your vision, your opportunities, especially financial opportunities and opportunities for gains and rewards, for social participation. You can become, as I said, you can become socially active, new friends, and so on. Wonderful transit. Then there is the Neptune Cancers that are influenced by Neptune specifically. They're born from 18 degrees till 23 degrees Cancer, Sun, Moon, rising, 18 till 23 degrees. It means they're usually born from around the 10th, 11th of July till the 16th of July. 11th or 10th till the 16th of July, maybe a day more, 17th. Well, you're having Neptune trine to your sign from the 9th house. It's very spiritual influence in a good way. Trine is like spiritual, your spirituality and views are being refined now. You're receiving some spiritual help. Maybe you can find soulmate teacher, for example, or teaching or knowledge that is more spiritual. You can study astrology again. This 9th house is higher knowledge, spirituality. You can see God in a more benevolent light. But let's see, if your sun is in those degrees, so you're born from around 10, 11 till 16th of July, and all Neptunian activities will go very well. You might go into something artistic or creative, writing or, teaching something spiritual as well, the 9th house, Neptune. Or you might go into music, or you just might feel more attuned to this, your intuition will be quite correct. You might get hunches, believe in them. It's a trine aspect. It's like a guardian angel, invisible angels are talking to you and connecting. Neptune rules angels and invisible helpers. And you might be very attuned to those, right now, with correct intuition, with the correct inspirations. You can just receive some support from Neptunian people, from foreigners, or it might be very easy for you to relocate to a foreign country or to travel somewhere as well. This is Neptune. Or you can have a romantic relationship with the sun is male people, with Neptunian-like, more sensitive, romantic Neptune person, more artistic, or someone in the medical field. And also if you might get, if you're in the fields Neptunian, like a bartender, a pharmacist, a doctor, if you're spiritual healer, if you're someone who talks about spiritual topics, a priest, or whatever, if you're someone who is an artist, these are all Neptune fields: spirituality, healing, arts, petrol as well. Well, expect amazing things, or even investment in such Neptunian connected topics. So if you want to start a business connected to that, if you're having Neptune trine your sun, fantastic. Even Neptune, your ascendant and moon can support such careers. You know, Neptune trine the moon, you can have a support of a benevolent female figure, or it can be healing of emotional situation, or it can be easy pregnancy, or it can be something positive happening to you as a mother, or in the family environment, or changing place of living, but in a way that is not disruptive, finding like the ideal home, finding the ideal place of living, kind of, you know, Neptune trine the moon makes you more sensitive, more emotionally attuned. Healing, as I said, definitely. All those Neptune careers or Neptune activities, swimming, listening to music, doing something artistic, meditating, doing something with the imagination, they are very supported with Neptune trine the moon. And emotional connections, they can feel like soulmate connections. You can feel the soul of another person connected to them. And with the ascendant, all of that, it's just this spiritual impulse. It might make you a bit lazy and dreamy, but it might feel like things are happening by magic when Neptune makes trine to the sun, maybe in your career, that it's flowing, that there is some kind of a kind, benevolent, supportive force behind you. But things are happening by magic somehow, you know, in certain area of your life. With the moon is usually home, family, emotional connections, but it depends what house your moon is. With the sun, usually career and goals and male figures, and you become more compassionate generally with Neptune trine. You become more glamorous and likable by others. There's a softer approach in your heart. It's like a little halo about you, you know, getting in touch with this higher, more gentle, loving side of yourself. And especially for artists, creative people, can be extremely kind of inspirational, but again, it can bring a bit more laziness. Be careful. Even with the trines, Neptune kind of makes you zoned out a little bit and lazy. I think it would be great to travel a little bit to far away places if you can, or to do more spiritual activities within, if you can't travel, you know, like go in nature. You might feel really enjoying time alone in nature, painting, drawing by the sea, you know, such type of things. Isolating, daydreaming, you know. And when Neptune trines sun, moon, or ascendant, your dreams, you can kind of manifest them. Just, you know, I do believe that dreaming can, you know, not dreams when you're asleep, but visualizing. This is Neptune. You can have a fantastic time this year visualizing something and even attracting it by magic. All right, and the last batch of Cancers, they're having a bit harder. They're born from the 17th of July till the 20th of July, 17th till 20th of July, or if they have sun, moon, or ascendant from 24 till 27 degrees in Cancer. 24 till 27 degrees in Cancer. They're having Pluto opposition. Now, there can be a huge transformation through another person. Someone very intense Plutonian can enter your life. Someone, for example, who is extremely sexual, you have very strong sexual chemistry, someone very powerful, but also there is like it can escalate. There can be a lot of possessiveness there, a lot of desire to control each other. They can be a charismatic person that enters your life that is kind of very scorpionic, controlling, or sexually intense. It's can be quite karmic relationship, quite intense, with the power struggle, subtle power struggle, and for domination. It can awaken in new feelings of jealousy, of control. If you have already a partner, you can find yourself that you're more jealous or controlling than other times, so that the partner is becoming like that, evoking such themes. You have to work through themes of obsession and compulsiveness in relationships. So feelings of, you know, Pluto is like to betrayal and being cheated on, or you having such desires, you know, sexual impulses that are so overpowering, you know, that they become impulsive, compulsive. And you can meet someone that you experience those things with, or you can kind of start feeling a little bit paranoid about relationships or other people. You can have some power struggle with another person, with a powerful person often. I don't want to scare you, but it is Pluto, and it is sexy, kinky, it's intense. It makes you feel very alive, but also it makes you feel it's a bit scary because it is Neptune. You're attracting those more Plutonian people because it's an opposition. It comes from interactions with others. Others might try to dominate you, and you have to. It's the ultimate goal is to take your power back from others. And how do you give your power back to? How do you give your power away from others? There's so many ways, through if you're allowed to be talked down to or abused or to be told what to do, or if you're pleasing others. But there's also other subtle ways of manipulation that others can take your power, and you're trying to take them back, to take that power back, so it can escalate those issues of power taking. But there are other subtle ways. You might be giving your power away to another because you're constantly obsessing where they are, what they're doing, who they're checking on their phone. Be careful. Actually, I've seen when Pluto opposed the moon or sun or ascendant of other Cancer people that I've been observing for the last 10 years, I saw that they would attract a very powerful sexual relationship often, and one that really transforms them. That one that really transformed them, but they had to deal with issues of insecurity, especially of how, of jealousy, of control and stuff like that. But usually it's a transformational connection of some sort with someone that has scorpionic qualities almost. If you're already in a relationship, this can indicate that there is the need to a big transformation. A partner might be going through a huge change and challenging you to transform, or sometimes it can be the end of a marriage or business partnership or relationship, close relationship, friendship, whatever. A relationship that is important for you, because Pluto is like death and rebirth. So it has to either, if a relationship cannot be reborn and transformed during Pluto transit, it goes away, and it goes away for good and forever. If it's already a shaky relationship that you're not sure about, usually Pluto destroys that, takes it away. If it's a good relationship, it goes through some crisis. It needs to be re-examined, reviewed, seen from a different angle, and changes made, psychological, maybe work with a counselor in your relationship, or transforming something, but some huge change has to happen there. Or you can do some big transformation together. And last but not least, if it's your son, for example, it can be a huge change in the life of a father figure, big transformation, sometimes crisis. So in your personal career, I just had Pluto square to my son. Intense. Often things, you're purging feelings, or to your moon. If your moon is in Cancer, it's like these intense feelings that come. It's like you never thought you were capable of such feelings of distraction or passion or intensity. You're like, I'm crazy. What is happening? This is not me, But it is those deep, intense feelings. But the ultimate goal of Pluto is to transform whatever it touches in your moon. It's your family, it's your home, relationship with the woman, your emotional contacts, your needs, how you approach your needs, to totally transform them. Change with the family. If it's your son, it's your career, it's your goals in life, it's a relationship with the man figure, or it's your own ego and self-identity. Your ascendant, it's your appearance. It's to transform your health, to transform your relationships, because it's going over the 7th house. But you're changing as well, to totally change those. For example, my brother was early Cancer, so when Pluto first started transiting his 7th house cusp, he found out infidelity from his wife, and they started coming, and they separated. It was quite intense, actually. And then at the end of the Pluto transit, he met the love of his life the most, and they're still together. So there was a huge change in his relationships. So especially for the ascendant, if you're a Cancer ascendant, those degrees, 24 till 27, you can feel it like that. But also some big transformation. If it's your son, mostly connected to career, like I've been doing that, restructuring it. Might be some power struggle with authority figure or male figures as well. But you're learning to take your power back from others. And if you've been the one abusing power in some way, if you've been manipulative, if you've been controlling to your partner, now you'll have to, this will intensify, you'll have to, somehow this power can be taken away from you, so it's This is the issues of Pluto. But ultimately, Pluto gives powerful willpower as well. When it transits, to do some feat of willpower. Because of the deep passions it awakens, the deep feelings push actions. So nothing can push us into some extreme change that we've never had the courage before, as intense feelings. And that's what Pluto awakens. It awakens the astral body, the strong desires. So you can do some big feat in your career if it's your sun sign, some big feat in your business if it's your ascendant sign from the 7th house, or in your relationship. If it's your moon, psychologically some big feat. So definitely something that you never had the intensity, the powers, the strength to do before. Pluto can push you to do it and to transform, to go over that huge, to jump this huge hole that you were afraid to do before. So thank you so much, Cancers. Wow. I don't know. It's intense. Do check, so because Cancer sounded a bit heavy. I hear it, but it's, transformation in a powerful way. Things will not be the same anymore. The status, Saturn opposition your planet, your ascendant or sun moon, might have kept the status quo till now, but it will shift it from next year. But do check if you have a different ascendant. The material circumstances will be very different, but if it's your moon or a different sun, do check all the signs so you get the full picture. But that's part of what specifically Cancers will be going through. Thank you.